Hello, fellow traders and investors. This is Lee McFarland from Kinship Investments, and I am updating for October the 16th, 2017, our progress for the week previous, and I'm going to have some fun today. We're going to discuss how investors may look at us or any other manager or trader that's just getting going and that doesn't have the pedigree behind them, and and I'll kind of break this down into months. So if you're an investor or a manager who's making over 5% a month, what happens to those investors? What do they see in those numbers that speaks to them? And because when it comes to the numbers of how much a trader can make for an investor, if you don't have the pedigree, all you may have is the numbers. All you may have is your performance. And this is really interesting for me because not a couple weeks, but a month ago, I went to Chicago for an emerging manager conference for a CTA group. And they had what was called a shark tank, and they had 4 emerging managers go up in front of everyone in the forum, as well as a panelist of 5 experienced allocators, and just kind of treat those allocators as they were real investors and they're trying to get their money, and do a pitch to them. And it's great because as the audience, we get to kind of see how they do that, and see, and then they have feedback from the panel, which is a great resource. I want to go there next year, just for that purpose. It is really good experience to see how different kind of managers and different styles kind of market themselves. And my point is that when it comes to emerging managers such as those had some sort of pedigree behind them. Every one of them. There's one, Emil, his name was Van, I can't remember, Emil Van something. I'll post it up here beside me. That he's been in the industry for decades. He's from Canada, great Canadian. Wonderful, very amazing pitch. He has a tear booklet for the panelists to look through while they do this, and they just said it was the best they've ever seen. The legalese, the wording, everything. They couldn't find anything wrong with it. And then you have other guys who just got out of maybe Morgan Stanley. They've been in the oil industry and successful in that, but now they're going on their own. But the theme is that all of them had some sort of pedigree behind them that got them going, and they had connections to get a little bit of seed money, if you will. And for a lot of traders that I know and myself, I came from nothing. I came from an industry which is totally not related. I got myself into this industry from the ground up, and where we are in Western Canada, it's really hard to get a position in a field like we are in, and with derivatives and futures and options. That'll pay you anything. Let's just say that's not let's say a co-op position. We had a co-op student ourselves for what we do, and he's struggling, trying to find his way, trying to find positions which will benefit him in the long term. So anyways, long story short, I want to hit upon what an investor who's just looking at performance sees, and it'll lead to interesting discussions that I really want to get into. But first, let's talk about our previous week. So we're halfway through October. Last week was fairly steady for us until the very end, where looks like, you know, we had steady returns all through the week except for Friday. And natural gas and crude oil both increased basically from the start of the week all the way to the end of the week. They just kept on trundling up, 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 and they went up for about 5% for the week. And it ended up being so that so far for October we're up about 6% or 5.91%. So that's great, and we're continuing on from there. I don't really have much more to say for that. I've said in many other videos previous what we're doing, and you can review those if you like. So I'd just like to get going on our what I'm going to call. I'll set some parameters here. Every month that goes by for a year, if you're, as a manager, able to sustain 5% return per month, that seems pretty unbelievable. And it is really. So the first month when you post a 5% or more return, here's what an investor is going to think or say when that happens. You know, you got it up and running, you got your account set up. There's so much to do when you're starting your firm, if it's just a firm or a private company or your own trading system or whatever, and it's your money. And when I talk about like just getting going and whatnot, this is with enough money to make it meaningful. If this is with under 10 grand, it's not really meaningful. You have to have a little more money that's diversified, that shows that you can actually work with enough money. And caveat to that, this first month it's vindication for all the work that you've done to date. You know, having that first month is not the very first month that you've been working on this. You've been working on this for years. And to have 1 month of return is just a good pat on the back to say, hey, you did it, you made it happen, you got it off the ground, you got things, you know, you're sorting out still with like your broker and in your back office and those sort of things. And, you know, and it's just a good job that you're here. And as an investor looking in from outwards, that's what they're looking at. That's what they're saying to you. And it's a good job. And you should pat yourself on the back, but don't expect anything more than that. Second month, lucky. Well, what can you say, right? You get 5% the second month or more, and people kind of go, well, okay, cool. Well, it's still a good job, and you know, we'll just say, well, that's lucky of you. You know, having 5% return per month is not something that everyone can do, and the average investor and an entrepreneur. Investing in the stock market or just 60-40 portfolios and those sort of things, 5% seems very unrealistic. So you get another percentage up like that, they're just going to go, oh, that's lucky, that's cool, well, you know, good for you, keep on going, you know, but that's about it. That's where the buck will end at that point. Next month, if you make 15 or if you make another 5%, is they'll just say, hey, keep it up. Having 3 months of over 5% return is something that shows that you are now gaining consistency. You, as an investor that's looking at you though, they're still going, well, you have to spend some time doing what you're doing. 3 months is still one of those areas where it could just be all luck. You know, it may not be your skill. And they'll just say, you know, well, keep it up, good work. Just keep me informed, you know, keep me on your list of people that you send information to, that sort of stuff. But they'll leave it at that for now. Fourth month. So now you're up over 20%, probably 22% if you're doing 5% or more. And an investor may go, huh, that's interesting. And they start kind of turning their head a little bit more, but I was doing a lot of research from, they had a great amount of information coming from the Emerging Manager conference in Chicago. I really enjoyed it, reading it thoroughly, and I'm going to be week after week kind of bringing things forward that I learned from that. And one of the main things is that as a small time trader or manager getting going, all they're focusing on is their performance. And yeah, as you should. But as entrepreneurs, as business people, the one thing that you always have to do is marketing. Marketing is number one. You need to show people a face. There's so many different ways to market, and I'm still learning a lot of that. As a business person myself for 20 years previous to being a trader, I would build relationships based on trust and respect. And I think that's a very good starting point with marketing. You need that. But you have to go a little further. You have to go outside your boundaries. And what I mean by that is not resting on your laurels. You have to go out there and you have to be a face for that laurel, right? You have to make people feel comfortable. The number one thing that investors invest in is being comfortable with the company itself and the people managing it, not necessarily the performance. And there's statistics that in months to come I'll bring forward that I found myself that is very interesting. So let's move on to month 5. Not bad. What's the guy's name? They're a little more interested. They're going, wow, there's 5 months and he's doing over 5%. This is crazy. Let's just move on to month 6. Oh, consistent so far. Again, we're half a year into it, and now they're getting a little more interested. But as a trader, you've spent years working on your craft and thinking that if you make it, they will come. That is not how it works at all. Let's just move on to number 7. What does he do? What's the secret sauce? See, now they're really questioning what you're doing. Now, this is where I see as an opportunity to really inform your potential investors. And it's your job as a manager or entrepreneur or trader or whatever to help that process along, to inform that investor and feel comfortable about their exploration of you. As traders, like I say, we kind of get caught up in the fact that we think, when I started years ago, I thought, oh, it's such a great thing. I've got 7 years of history. I'm working day to day to day. It's flawless. It's great. It's like, how can I not get millions from investors? Well, because investors aren't the type of people who just throw money at something that doesn't have a solid history and a solid basis of infrastructure, of knowledge, of information, showing people what you do. And that's a mistake of a lot of us as an entrepreneur or as a trader. So let's move on to month number 8. I think this is really interesting. This is the month where they say 50% a year, because you're doing 5%, and that's up to about 47 or so. They're saying 50% for the year. Is this a joke? It's true. That's what they're saying. And it goes into month number 9. What's the catch? As a trader, you have to think like an investor. You have to think they're going to say that to you. What are you going to say? The catch is, I can possibly make you money. And then you move into month number 10, where you're getting over 5% again. Wow, they said, this manager, he must be really happy. He must have all the money he can handle. He's making a lot of money himself. That's what they're thinking. If you were established and you had this record, you might be in that position. But as a new trader, finally being recognized for what you're doing, this is just one more step. I like to, at this point, bring in humility, right? You might be doing really well for this year, and you are starting to inform that investor of who you are. kind of giving them some information of what exactly you do, getting them comfortable with you, but also having them now realize that I need you to be on the journey with me. And that's what it's about. You know, we called ourselves Kinship because we believe in working with investors and other traders in a very holistic way. And I can't make money without other people's money, right? If you only have a few $1,000s as a startup trader, that's all you have. Be yourself, be humble, right? And do the best you can. But it may not always work out. And you may not always get all the money that you ever want. This is what you have to relate to people. It's like, yeah, I understand. It's we're doing pretty well, but really we understand that we're just starting, and you know, we need to work with you. You need to work with us, and if we are successful, you need to benefit from that. And from that benefit, we need to get a good fee that makes us a living and creates a bigger business. So number 11 here. Getting near the end of your first year, it's going great, right? Like you can really pat yourself on the back and starting to inform your investors. Maybe you've been able to get a little bit of money out, but hey, you know, that's not the point. And that's where the mistake is that I see with myself in the past is that I got to get money. Here's what I do. Here's my performance. I'm great. It's not about that. It's finding the right people that can work with you, that wants to stay with you, and being a person that can help someone else. And at number 11 is when an investor says, are you invested with them? So now an investor who may be curious can ask their buddies, do you know about this guy? Are you invested with them? Or do you know people who are invested with them? That's where you start to get some sort of synergy with networking, to have that word of mouth is saying, yeah, this guy, he's straight up shooter. He's always been there for people. He's never done me wrong, that sort of thing. And that is one of the last psychological hurdles for anyone. If you have someone stating to you that you know and trust, say to you, I know and trust that guy. That is half the battle right there. And don't screw people around. Be good people. Let's move on to the last month. And this is where it hits, as I'm calling them, this is crazy. If you're making 5% a month consistently, and it could not be 5%, but it's something else that's not necessarily believable, but you're doing it, and that's showing huge consistency. You get to the point where investors, they just have to take the leap of faith now, because they just say, I have to get on the bicycle that's rolling along without me. And if I don't, maybe I'll lose it. And as a trader, an entrepreneur that's marketing that, how do you push that emotion nicely? You're a salesperson too, and that's who you have to learn to be. And you have to know when to push someone over the little bump in the sidewalk, and then they're with you. And that's your job, to kind of help them. It's not they calling you. It's you calling them. And this is where you have to get out of your shell. You don't wait for that call. You're the one doing the call. And their actual thoughts are, I'm answering his call next time. That's what it's all about. So to give me a little more perspective, we've got July, August, September. We got 8.5, around 6, 4.5, and around almost 13% return gross without any fees or anything, and that's pretty good. So we're sitting at where are we sitting? At the keep it up sort of stage right now, and come the end of October, we'll be into the 4 months, the huh moment, and this is going to be interesting for me. This is where I'm looking to kind of move forward more every week with doing these sort of videos and helping investors that have had that moment and want to know more about myself and what I do and what we do as a company. And that'll lead into months down the road, hopefully they think, let's give this guy a chance, let's give these guys a chance, let's see how it works out. So I hope you enjoyed that, and I know I did. It was really cathartic for me, and I'll look forward to chatting with you next week.